Now it's time for a fantasy perspective. Nick Alberga and Pete Jensen, one of, if not the biggest moves of the day, Marc-Andre Fleury trade to Minnesota. Pete and Nick, what are the fantasy implications here?
Well, thanks for having us on deadline day. I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury, I think with this trade to Minnesota, Nick, returns to the top 10 fantasy goalie rankings as a result. And I think that he's the clear starter over Cam Talbot. What are your thoughts, Nick?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm excited about this move. Marc-Andre Fleury gets another shot at a Stanley Cup, going to a playoff contender. And I like the fact that Bill Guerin was like, you know what? I need a goalie. I need to upgrade this position. And he goes out and gets the guy who wins the Vezina Trophy last season. Not to mention he's got 3 Stanley Cups to his name. So I really like the move. Did you like it?
For sure. I mean, they needed to address what's been going on for the past month and a half when they're among the leaders in goals allowed in the entire league, not a leaderboard that you won't really want to be on fantasy wise. And of course, in reality, as one of the few contenders in the Western Conference to win the Stanley Cup. So I think it's a big move for Minnesota. They have a really deep roster, 3 strong lines, 2 strong pairs on defense. And Marc-Andre Fleury this year, I know his save percentage isn't up to snuff, but he had 4 shutouts for the Chicago Blackhawks, which is an accomplishment in itself for sure. So he's a must-own goaltender for sure. Another must-own player, obviously Claude Giroux. He was already in the top 100 overall players in NHL.com's fantasy rankings. He goes to Florida where they're going all in, man. They're crazy deep. It's really exciting to see, Nick, because Giroux can play center at a high level. He's one of 5 guys on the Panthers that could do that in their top 9 forward group. And he also could play the wing where maybe he'll slot in better.
I could not believe the traction, Pete, I got the other day when I tweeted out the Florida Panthers and how disgustingly stacked they are. But that is the case. I mean, you look from a fantasy scope, my goodness, it's a scary team. Never mind in reality in the NHL world and how they stack up against the rest of the Atlantic Division right now. So yeah, obviously we really like the Claude Giroux pickup. Looks like he might start on the top line. Looks like he might be on PP1. And I tell you, Pete, I can't wait for Thursday night at the Bell Center when we're going to see Giroux make his debut and likely Ben Sherratt in the revenge look as well.
It's going to be a great matchup for sure. And a couple other big moves over the weekend that caught my eye, in addition to Claude Giroux. Definitely Mark Giordano, definitely Hampus Lindholm. Those are 2 guys who moved on the blue line. We'll compare them to each other. I mean, I'm leaning towards Hampus Lindholm. I think he could slot in on the first pair with Charlie McAvoy in another very deep Bruins team, deeper than years past, Nick. And there's been some rumblings about Raquel going to Pittsburgh as well.
Yeah, firstly, I really like what you brought up on the NHL Fantasy on Ice podcast earlier today, available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, by the way, about Charlie McAvoy and the impact of Hampus Lindholm going to Boston that could insulate and cushion a guy like McAvoy to expand his game offensively. So certainly we like that look quite a bit. I think there's a look for Giordano on PP2 in Toronto and the offensive minded nature of that team. Rickard Rakell, like how can you not like the fit if he does end up going to the Pittsburgh Penguins in the top 9, in the top 6? I think there's opportunity, and I think clearly that's a better fit than he had with the Anaheim Ducks. Not to mention, Pete, what's happening in San Jose as well, the dominoes. So Marc-Andre Fleury, he lands in Minnesota, which means they had to deal a goalie, and Kaapo Kähkönen is now a Shark.
And I actually think it's a big upgrade for the Sharks compared to what they've been rostering at the goalie position for the past, 5 or 6 years. You could say Kähkönen has a higher ceiling than any of the guys who have manned the crease, especially Martin Jones, who's no longer there. And then Rickard Rakell, I mean, the fit to me, if he goes there, is Evgeny Malkin's wing. He's playing with inferior wings to Rickard Rakell. Rakell's a 2-time 30 goal scorer in this league. He covers hits. He's only about 11% rostered right now in fantasy. So definitely go and pick him up in any format, especially deeper leagues. And back to you guys in the studio.